Hello everyone, and welcome to your very first lecture in Introduction to Programming. Today, before we even write our first line of actual C# code, we need to get our tools ready. Think of this like preparing your workspace before starting a project. We'll be setting up Visual Studio Code, or VS Code for short, which is a powerful and popular tool we'll use to write, run, and test our C# programs. Here's what we'll cover in this session. We'll start with a brief introduction to VS Code, discuss what you need to have prepared on your computer, then walk through the installation steps for VS Code itself and the necessary components for C#. After that, the exciting part, we'll create and run our very first project. We'll touch on some common troubleshooting tips and wrap up with a summary and resources for further learning. So why are we choosing VS Code for our introduction to programming? First, it's lightweight and fast. It doesn't require a lot of resources from your computer. It's also free and open source, which is fantastic. You can use it without cost on any machine. VS Code is cross-platform. Whether you're using Windows, Mac OS, or Linux, the experience is very similar. It has a huge ecosystem of powerful extensions that add support for different languages and tools, making it incredibly versatile. And specifically, it's ideal for learning C#. It provides features that make writing and understanding C# code much easier. Ultimately, our goal is to be able to write code like you see on the right, a simple C# program that prints a message to the screen. But to do that, we need VS Code and the C# tools installed. Before we start the installation, let's quickly look at the system requirements. VS Code and the tools for C# are quite forgiving, but you'll need a relatively recent operating system, Windows 10 or newer, Mac OS 10.15 or newer, or a recent Linux distribution. At least 4 GB of RAM, but 8 GB is recommended for a smoother experience. Around 2 GB of free disk space for the software we'll install. Also, make sure you have a stable internet connection for downloading the necessary files. You might need administrator rights on your computer to install software. And finally, some basic familiarity with using a terminal or command prompt on your system will be helpful, as we'll use it for certain steps. Okay, let's begin the installation. Step 1. Install VS Code. Go to the official website, code.visualstudio.com. On the website, you'll find the download link for your specific operating system. Download the installer. Follow the installation notes. If you're on Windows, make sure to check the option Add to Path during installation. This is important as it allows you to open VS Code directly from the terminal. On Mac OS, you'll typically just drag the downloaded application to your Applications folder. On Linux, you can often install it using your distribution's package manager, following the instructions on the VS Code website. Once installed, open your terminal or command prompt and type code -- version. If it shows a version number, VS Code is installed correctly and the path is configured. VS Code is our editor, but to build and run C# programs, we need the .NET SDK. The SDK, Software Development Kit, contains the compiler and everything needed to develop .NET applications. Step 2. Install .NET SDK. Go to .NET.microsoft.com. We'll be using .NET 8 or 9, which is recommended. Download the .NET 8 or 9 SDK from the website. Follow the operating system-specific installation instructions provided on the download page. After installation, open your terminal again and type .NET --list SDKs. This command should list the installed .NET SDKs, including the one you just installed. If you see it listed, the SDK is ready. Now that we have VS Code and the .NET SDK, we need to tell VS Code how to understand and work specifically with C#. We do this by installing an extension. Step 3. Install C# extension, open VS Code, press Ctrl+Shift+X or CMD+Shift+X on Mac OS to open the extensions view. In the search bar, type C#. Look for the extension published by Microsoft. Install this extension. You might also see the C# Dev Kit extension mentioned. This is optional for beginners, but provides more advanced features like Solution Explorer and a native Test Explorer. Note its licensing is under a Visual Studio subscription, while the core C# extension is open source. For this course, the main C# extension is sufficient. After installing the C# extension, restart VS Code to make sure the extension is loaded properly. Great! With the tools installed, let's create our very first C# project. We'll use the .NET Command Line Interface, or CLI, which we accessed by installing the .NET SDK. Step 1. Open the integrated terminal in VS Code. You can do this by pressing Ctrl+, the backtick key, usually below ESC, or by going to the terminal menu and selecting New Terminal. Step 2. Navigate to where you want to create your project. CD Desktop is common to go to your desktop, but you can choose any folder. Step 3. Create a new console application project using the command .NET new console-o my first project. .NET New creates a new project. Console specifies it's a console application, which is what we'll start with, programs that run in the terminal, and -o my first project tells it to create a new folder named my first project for your project files. Step 4. Open the newly created project folder in VS Code. Type code my first project in the terminal you just used. This command tells VS Code to open the folder you just created. When you open the My First Project folder in VS Code, you'll see some files. The key file you'll work with is program.cs. This is where our C# code will go. There's also a .cs proj file. This is the project configuration file. You usually don't need to edit it directly when starting. You'll also see folders like obj and bin once you build the project. These contain build artifacts. Look at the initial code in program CS. It's a simple hello world of program. Don't worry about understanding every single line right now. This structure with using, namespace, class, and static void main is the standard starting point for C# console applications. The code inside the main method, console.writeLine, hello world, is the instruction to print text to the console. So per ni and the and Okay, let's run this program. With your project open in VS Code, open the integrated terminal again, Ctrl+ or terminal menu. Make sure the terminal's current directory is the root of your project folder, My First Project. Execute the command .NET Run. The .NET SDK will compile your code and then run the resulting application. You should see the expected output printed in the terminal. Hello world. Congratulations, you've successfully set up your environment and run your first C# program. An essential skill in programming is debugging, finding and fixing errors in your code. VS Code has excellent debugging tools. You can set breakpoints by clicking in the left margin next to a line number in your code. A red dot will appear. When you run your program in debug mode, execution will pause on this line. Go to the Run and Debug view in VS Code. You can click the Run icon in the sidebar. It looks like a play button with a bug, or press Ctrl+Shift+D or CMD+Shift+D on Mac OS. Click the Run and Debug button. VS Code will likely automatically create a launch configuration for .NET Core Launch console. Once paused at a breakpoint, you can use the controls, play, continue, step over, step into, step out, stop, to move through your code line by line. A great tip is that you can inspect the values of variables in the Variables section of the debug sidebar, or often by simply hovering your mouse over the variable in the code editor. Getting into good habits early is important. One crucial tool for professional developers is version control, and Git is the most popular system. VS Code has built-in Git integration. Open the Source Control tab in the sidebar, Ctrl+Shift+G. If your project isn't already under version control, you can initialize a Git repository right here by clicking the Initialize Repository button or typing Git init in the terminal. You can stage your changes, select which files to include in the next snapshot, and commit them, save a snapshot of your project at a point in time, directly from this view or using terminal commands like git add and git commit-m initial commit. Learning Git helps you track changes, revert to previous versions, and collaborate with others. You can also connect your local repository to platforms like GitHub for remote backup and sharing. We use .NET New Console to create our first project. The .NET New command can actually create many different types of .NET projects. .NET New ClassLib creates a class library. .NET New Web API creates a web API project. .NET New XUnit creates a unit test project. You can run .NET New -- list in your terminal to see all the available project templates. For this introductory course, we'll primarily focus on console applications, but it's good to know other options exist for future learning. As you start coding, keep these simple best practices in mind. Use meaningful variable and method names. Code should be easy to read and understand. Try to keep methods short and focused on doing one thing well. Use version control from the start, even for small personal projects. It will save you headaches later. Test your code incrementally. Write a little code, test it, write a little more, test it again, use comments wisely. Don't just explain what the code does, the code often does that itself. Explain why you wrote it that way, or explain complex logics. It's common to run into issues when setting up or starting out. Here are a few common problems and potential solutions. If the .NET command is not recognized in your terminal, the .NET SDK might not be installed correctly, or it might not be added to your system's path environment variable. Revisit the installation steps, or search online for how to add to path for your OS. If you get build errors, it usually means there's a syntax mistake in your C# code. Look closely at the error message. It often tells you the file and line number. If you open a .cs file in VS Code and don't see syntax highlighting, the code is all plain text. The C# extension might not be installed or enabled. Go back to the extensions view and check. If the code command is not recognized in your terminal, VS Code might not be installed correctly, or you might have missed checking the Add to Path option during installation on Windows. You can usually fix this by reinstalling or manually adding it to path. To summarize this foundational lecture, you should now have VS Code installed and verified, the .NET SDK installed and verified, the C# extension active in VS Code, and you should have created and successfully executed your very first Hello World console project. This setup is your gateway to learning C#. The actual next steps in programming will be to start exploring the core concepts of C#, learning about variables and data types to store information, understanding control structures like loops and conditions to make your programs do different things, and practicing debugging to find and fix issues. We'll cover these topics in upcoming lectures. Here are some useful resources as you begin your journey. The official VS Code documentation is excellent if you need help with the editor. The official Microsoft Learn documentation for C# is a comprehensive resource for the language itself. And Stack Overflow is a popular website where you can find answers to almost any programming question. Don't be afraid to use these resources as you practice.